9% of the population will be diagnosed with attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, or ADHD, during their lifetime.
More than 3% of those are women, but experts say many women go undiagnosed. So why is that, and how does ADHD affect women differently than men?
13 on your side's Keely Lovern takes an in-depth look at this disorder in women and introduces us to an expert from West Michigan who now helps others cope across the world.
It is an actual diagnosis. There's no shame in having it.
Attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, or ADHD. It's one of the most common mental health disorders in today's world. Although usually diagnosed in childhood, many adults live with it too, like 22-year-old Isabel Flazar.
And it paralyzed me.
Isabel says she always felt like she was different, but after 2 decades in the dark, last year she was officially diagnosed and now feels liberated in understanding herself.
Not only did I feel seen, I just didn't feel alone. A lot of feelings of inadequacy came from not understanding that I had this disorder.
Isabel grew up in Lowell and is now in college at Central Michigan University. Her diagnosis drew her to study psychology. She wants to help others realize that they're not alone.
It's kind of a feeling of being trapped sometimes, of not knowing what's wrong with yourself, but also feeling like you should have the power to do it, but you're not.
Part of Isabel's journey was at the ADHD Center of West Michigan, a place founded by Tamara Rossier, a woman who lives with the disorder herself.
And those of us with ADHD just get so frustrated of not doing things well.
They're perpetually behind. There's more to do than can ever be done, and they're just exhausted. And then they turn that into feeling like a perpetual loser.
So what is ADHD? Well, symptoms can look anything like the inability to stay focused, hyperactivity, even impulsivity. Dr. Rossier says there are 3 main types.
When you have ADHD, we don't have reliable access to this part of our brain. It's called the prefrontal cortex.
Dr. Rossier says that part of the brain is what controls planning, emotional regulation, and motivation. And with ADHD, it's harder to access those core feelings.
And women especially have difficult times with this because they'll turn to shame and self-loathing very quickly.
Rossier says that women with ADHD are more prone to eating disorders, obesity, low self-esteem, depression, and anxiety.
They have relationship issues. They tend to be emotionally a little bit more volatile toward themselves. And so they grow up feeling not as good as, or not as accomplished as their peers.
ADHD is hereditary, so it's extremely common to see it manifest within families. Yet Dr. Rossier says women don't always want to admit they have it, or they think they just have anxiety.
The problem is your anxiety was there because of the ADHD.
Dr. Rossier says women with ADHD are often coined chatty Cathys or too talkative, but there can also be the shy, smart, disorganized person you know too.
Yeah, it's easy to find the hyperactive ones. It's the quiet, inattentive ones who are just taking all those emotions and just shoving them down.
Also for women, Dr. Rossier says she sees too often that they are afraid to ask for treatment for fear of looking like a drug seeker.
So women looking guilty about asking for medication is a deep concern, which makes diagnosis very tough. And this is why women go underrepresented in their assessment and treatment.
And for Isabel Flazar, she tells me she feels she's now able to answer those intrusive questions just by knowing her diagnosis.
Because at the end of the day, you have to be able to separate yourself, to be able to recognize, okay, that's my disorder. That's not who I am. I, like the real me, knows that I'm trying to work with this. And even though it gets hard sometimes, it's always better to try than not.
Dr. Rosier says she knows those feelings of isolation all too well, which is why she spent her entire career helping men and women cope with ADHD. And in just the last year, she published her first book that's already making international headlines. It's called Your Brain's Not Broken. You can learn more about Dr. Rosier's new book or about ADHD at 13onyourside.com. I'm Keely Lovern for 13 on Your Side.